Yo, welcome to my channel Entity Tarot, where we do collective readings, pick a card readings, and sometimes I rant about stuff. But today, I have decided to do a pick a card reading for you guys. There's only going to be 2 piles, and the topic is, what do you need to hear right now? So, I'm going to, I don't know if I said this already, I'm going to put the pictures up so that way you can see. And without further ado, I'm going to start the reading. So pile 1, what messages do you need to hear right now? Okay, so I'm getting 2 things. We've got the 7 of Water, the 6 of Fire, and the 8 of Earth. The first thing I'm getting is that this could be work-related. You want to do something that you get accepted for, commended for. You kind of want to be in the spotlight energy for your work. I don't know what that means, because everybody has different jobs, different professions, different things that they want to be doing. Not everybody wants to be, like, super famous and, like, stuff like that. So I'm not going to say with certainty what it is or what it isn't, but the energy of recognition is here. The other thing I'm getting is that it's not work-related, but you are putting energy into things that you feel will get you accepted and liked by the people around you. But there's some sort of illusion here. And what I mean by illusion is that there's a perspective about something within this that is skewed. It's distorted. It's not what you think it is or what it would appear to be at first glance on the surface. So a good example of that would be somebody with like a superiority complex, or like that's arrogant. You would immediately at face value look at them and say like, oh, well, they're just like, really confident or like overconfident or something like that. But what you're not seeing is that in order for that superiority to be at the forefront, it is masking the exact opposite, which is like a deep insecurity. So it could be that something on the surface appears one way, but is actually indicative of another state of being, or another reality, or however you want to flip that. Okay, the Chariot, the 9 of Swords, and the Page of Spheres, or the Page of Pentacles, clarifying the 7 of Cups. The 7 of Cups in the traditional tarot is like having options, not really knowing which one to pick. Some of them being good options, some of them not so good options. With the Chariot, the 9 of Swords, and the Page of Pentacles, it's definitely giving, not knowing what to move forward with, and having a sense of overwhelm, anxiety, unrest mentally in regards to which one to pick. Now, if this is not job oriented, because I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory if it is work related. If it's not job oriented, it's like you don't know which version of yourself to be in order to get this recognition and acceptance in the way that you want it. So it's like, which mask do I wear? Which version of myself do I present? And that would explain the anxiety in relation to this as well, because when people... okay, so I feel like I have to explain this. We are all wired for connectivity, like with other people. And so a lot of what we do is to keep us safe in relation to being accepted, liked, loved, pulled in as opposed to push out. And there's this distorted perspective, if you will, about not caring what other people think. Everybody does. You're biologically hardwired to care what people think. So if you're one of those people that's like, well, I don't care, but then like behind closed doors, it's like you care very much what people think, like that's what I'm talking about. Like all of your behaviors and preferences are, I don't want to say dictated, but the default setting without a great deal of conscious work is that you are kind of on autopilot, running according to the programs that you were fed as a child in relation to what was acceptable, what will get you liked, what will get you bullied, what will get you pushed away. Like, that's the rule book that you're operating by, unless you do a bunch of conscious work. And then in which case you're not necessarily not operating by that. It's just you become more aware of how that is driving your behaviors and decisions. So this is almost like you're trying to be the version of yourself that you think will get you this love and recognition, but it's not so much that you want the love and recognition just because that's what you want. You want it because you don't want something else. And there's a difference. So I'm going to try to break this down a little bit more based on how I'm perceiving it, and combining it with what I understand about the human psyche, is that when you really want something and purely just want that thing, there is a sort of drive and momentum and just single point focus in that direction. But when you want something because you don't want something else, it's like you don't actually want that thing. You're just avoiding the thing that you don't want and going in a direction away from that thing that you don't want. And it's more about what you don't want than what you do want. I'm going to try to break this down in a grounded way. Let's say when you were growing up, your parents made you eat everything on your plate, and you really hated that. So now when you have kids, you aren't disassembling why they made you do that and like where they were coming from. All you're doing is going, well, I'm not going to be like my parents. So because I don't want to be like this, I'm going to do the exact opposite, which is let my kid eat whatever they want, which is distorted in another way, out of balance in another way. So that's what I mean, is that you are moving towards something, a different version of self, wanting to embody certain aspects of self that you want to be liked and received well, to avoid the experience of rejection. You don't want to be accepted because you want to be accepted, although that's like everybody wants to be accepted, but you don't want to be accepted for how you authentically are. You just don't want to be rejected. That's what I'm feeling. So like you're putting effort and energy into crafting these sort of personas, and I don't know how conscious it is. It's more like subconscious, like things of like, well, what would be considered weird? What would be considered abnormal? What would I get pushed away for embodying? And what would I get praised for embodying? It could be as simple as that. Yeah, this is so I got the Hanged Man, the Queen of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, and the King of Swords. This is giving exactly that. It's kind of like trendsetter energy, like those people that walk around and they just seem to just exude like a sort of like it factor, if you will. And they don't really have to try, like, because they're not trying, they're just being themselves. And then other people being like, well, how do I be more like that? How do I get the same reaction that they're getting? And this is kind of giving that, where it's like your perception of what it is to be confident is to mimic other people that you perceive to be confident by trying to adopt whatever it is that you perceive as making them be received well, instead of recognizing that confidence comes from owning your authenticity. So it's like you're trying to approach this in a mental way and adopting certain characteristics and ways of being and things that you like and things that you're choosing to express and all of that jazz to elicit this certain response, which is manipulation, by the way. I'm not labeling that as like a bad thing. I'm just saying that's manipulation. Because we care what people think, you're either going to be straightforward and honest about that and then prioritize your own authentic expression, or you're going to try to tailor your behavior and your beingness and all that is to elicit a specific desired response in other people. Plain and simple. That's manipulation. I'm not saying that as like, again, like a way to shame anybody, because I know that manipulation, when people hear that, it's like, oh, like, that's so bad. Like, oh, like, you're a bad person. Like, there's no such thing as a good or bad person. It doesn't work that way. We all just want love and acceptance, and we just haven't figured out more straightforward ways to do that in a way where we feel safe, because we've never been taught how to caretake ourselves and to have ourselves and have other people too. And then if this is career oriented, So with the Hanged Man and the Queen of Wands, it's kind of giving a similar energy, but different in relation to this thing of like confidence. Like either it has shifted or it needs to shift. Your perception of confidence needs to shift, because if you want to be in this sort of like well-received role in whatever option it is that you pick, like you need to examine why you want that. Not that it's bad that you want that, but why do you want that? and really sit with that, because if you don't sit with that, then you run the risk of, I guess, being this other like energy that I'm tapping into, where like you're just tailoring the things that you're doing in order to get this desired perception, this desired response from other people, as if like being in a sort of well-received position or in the spotlight, so to speak, is solely dependent on other people. Like, that's half of the equation. But it's kind of like, it's not giving leadership energy, but it's like, imagine if you wanted to be a leader and it's like, oh, well, I'm only going to be a leader if like everybody like accepts that I am that. And it's like, no, you're going to stand by whatever it is that you feel that is, you're going to stand by whatever it is that you feel is important to you. And there's going to be opposition against that. So if you wait for everybody to be on board with something that you want to step into, then you're going to be waiting forever. Like, you have to step forward in this confidence that whatever you choose is what you choose. And the confidence doesn't come from other people just wholeheartedly accepting you, although you do need support. Like, I'm not saying that like you can operate this way without community, but you can't be solely dependent on other people to say or do or be a certain way before you are willing to step into this. And then the Two of Pentacles with the King of Swords, it's like, what can I utilize, like, in terms of like my resources? Like, how can I get here? Like, almost like a strategy kind of energy. Like, how can I make this happen for myself? How can I make people accept me so that I can have an easier time stepping into whatever role it is? It could be within the workplace. It could be within a friend group. It could be within your family. It could be literally anything. Make it less about the strategy of how to get the desired result and more about how you can anchor yourself into your own sense of confidence, independent of what other people do or do not do. So what reality for yourself, what way of being for yourself are you voting for with your thoughts, words, and actions? Like, don't wait for other people to give you permission to be the version of yourself that you want to be. And then clarifying the Eight of Earth, it's the Knight of Swords, the Hermit, and the Four of Cups. Yeah, there needs to be some examination in relation to why you're putting in energy towards the things that you're putting it into. Like, all that energy that you're allocating towards trying to be liked and well received is energy that you need to be exerting in the direction of introspection. But it's like you're avoiding that. Like, you're almost apathetic to those aspects of self. And I know it's not exactly like emotional cards. Like, I intuitively read, so I know that if you're like privy to certain card meanings, that you might be like, how do you get that from that? But it's just what I'm feeling. There's like an avoidance of looking at where it's really coming from. It's like you just want to be more confident without looking at where your desire to be perceived as that is coming from. Like, you just want to be that. You don't want to have to look at where that is coming from. Like I said, I don't know how other way to put that. I'm also getting that you could be relying on a mask of professionalism, of wanting to be perceived as like the person who's doing everything right, and like, I have this, and I have the house, and I have the car, and I have the job, and like, I'm doing this in my company. And it's like, but that's not you. You're just trying to gain acceptance from other people, but you're not willing to look at the fact that that's the reality. You just want to be perceived as that bitch, for lack of better words. But it's like, deep down, you don't feel like you are. You don't feel confident. You don't feel like that's the reality that you're living. And yet, it's like almost this, I think this is the distorted perception that I'm picking up on, is that like, if people treat me like I am this confident, self-assured person, then it will give me permission to not feel this insecurity. But that's not how it works. Like, you're feeling the insecurity because that's where your desire to be perceived in this way is actually coming from. And you would know that if you were actually being honest about your experience internally, but you're avoiding it. It's like, I just want to be confident so I don't have to face the fact that I'm really insecure. That's that. I finally got it out. I'm like, dang, like, I feel like I'm beating around the bush here. Okay, so what's the advice for pile 1? What is the advice for this situation, or for them, whatever it is that they need to hear? So it's interesting because you got Tower on the bottom and Tower for the main card that you picked. The advice is Strength, the Moon, and the Six of Cups. So having the strength to delve into your subconscious, and the subconscious is really what you don't know that you don't know. And the easiest way to access the subconscious is to feel your emotions. And I know that sounds like all woohoo and stuff, but like, you're feeling the way that you're feeling for a reason, which means that your emotions hold the truth of what your experience is. So when I was feeling into your pile, because I did channel like messages, not necessarily messages like I'm giving now, but just sort of keywords and like tapping into the energy. And I felt tightness here, like I'm anxious, like I'm trying to like hold it together. So it's like, take note of that feeling, because that's telling you something. That's telling you perhaps that you feel unsafe, that you are worried about how you're going to be received. That's telling you that you really care what people think. And that's fine, but to what degree are you letting that drive who you are presenting yourself as opposed to being authentic and saying, you know what? I am feeling insecure because I'm afraid of being weird. I'm afraid of being rejected. I'm afraid of being out of control. I'm afraid of people not perceiving me in these certain ways. Like, whatever it is for you. But you need to have the strength to actually face your subconscious and do the inner work and stop pretending like you have it all figured out. And the Six of Cups is, I'm getting two things. If you can be open with other people about the fact that this is like the reality of what's going on with you, you may be surprised at how well received you are. But then also I'm getting that this Six of Cups is like your inner child. Like, if you can't do that with your close, like, friends or family, or you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you need to sit down with your child self. How would your child self want to be behaving? Like, what did you like to do when you were a child? Like, where's that carefree sort of spirit? And not necessarily where, like I said, I feel the need to keep repeating this, like, everybody cares what other people think of them. Everybody does. But it's like finding the people that will accept you for your authentic self is what is important, because you can't keep pretending that you are a way that you're not and trying to hold yourself together or hold this version of yourself together that you want other people to think that you are, because it's just going to create pain for you. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be feeling like something is missing, like you're going to be trying to fix something about your experience because you're not feeling okay, and you're not feeling okay because you're not being honest with yourself. So yeah, let me see, because I like to pull from this last. I don't have the booklet for it, so I've only ever read intuitively for this one. So let's see what else wants to come out. Any last messages for pile 1? Healing the heart and intimacy on the bottom. Yeah, you need to have a heart-to-heart with yourself. Write yourself a letter, dialogue with yourself. You need to really, really be honest with yourself and stop avoiding this. Intimacy with self. It's basically understanding why you feel the way that you feel. Not judging, not pushing it away, not wishing that it was different, although it's normal to feel those things as well, but don't let those things drive your action. Like, I read this thing recently, and it was like, children are being taught in certain schools that, like, your thoughts in your mind and all the different perspectives and stuff that are going around, like, is like, it's like a koi pond, and all of your thoughts are the fish. Be the pond, not the fish. So it's like all of the ways that you feel about the fact that you are feeling the way that you're feeling, those are fish. And they're all valid, they're all definitely fish in the pond, but it's like you're clinging and you're cherry picking to certain avoidant perspectives and going, well, I don't want to feel that way, so I'm just going to push away the vulnerable parts, but that's what's causing your pain. So you need to bring them in, bring them close and say, okay, like, what's going on? Like, why are we so afraid of this? What happened to make us afraid of this? Like, and then almost as if you were talking to either your child self or a child in general, or maybe a close friend or a loved one. How would you guide them through this? And that may be a difficult thing for you, because I feel like if you do give advice to people, because I'm picking up on almost like with this professionalism sort of perspective that you feel safe and secure in, you may already be a kind of mentor to other people within your circle, or people like view you as having it together, so they ask you stuff, so you feel that you are in the right space to be giving them advice. But what you don't know that you're doing is you're actually just teaching them to be avoidant of the vulnerable parts of themselves, because that's what you're doing. So you need to drop into your vulnerability and recognize that that's what's most important here. Because if you're rejecting and disowning and denying parts of your experience and then teaching other people to do that, you're not doing them any favors. You're preventing them from healing, and you're preventing yourself from healing. So yeah, that's maybe not exactly what you wanted to hear, but that's what you needed to hear. So if you stick around for other readings, I'll catch you then. But if not, I hope that you really take this sincerely, and I hope that you move through this. I hope that you come out the other side. Not as if there's any way that you can't, but if you continue to avoid and pretend like this doesn't exist, just kind of put your blinders on, you're not going to go anywhere, and it's just going to get worse. So for your sake and for all of our sakes, I hope that you stop avoiding and you drop into this vulnerability and you move through it. So yeah, I'm with you. You can message me, you can comment, you can reach out in whatever way if that's what you feel that you want to do, because I'd love to talk about this further with you, because I know that these things are really difficult to move through when it's very difficult for me to describe this energy in like a sort of generalized way, but it's like it's very difficult when you are so hung up on the way that people perceive you that the very people that you want to present yourself to in a certain way are the people that you would have to be vulnerable with. I understand how difficult that can be. So it may be easier for you to do it with somebody that you don't know. So my inbox is open. Yeah. You're not alone. And it's really okay to do this. And it makes you stronger and more mature to actually be doing the work than to perpetually avoid it. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Let's move on to pile 2. I need a sip of my drink after that. Yeah, that was painful. It's like I could feel the inner child of pile 1, like literally just begging. Okay. Pile 2. What messages need to come through for pile 2? Dang. I'm not going to take all those. Once more with feeling, or maybe a little less feeling, I'm not sure. Pile 2. Pile 2. I'm not surprised about all the financial perspectives that are coming up in this economy. So we've got the Queen of Earth, the 5 of Earth, and the 6 of Water. The Queen of Earth to me is kind of like self-care mastery in the practical aspects, like not just bubble baths and stuff. I almost said shit. Not just bubble baths and stuff, but like structuring the reality in such a way where you are able to take care of yourself in the physical realm and give yourself the things that you need in order to feel nourished. So like Are you eating enough? Are you drinking enough? Are they the right things? Do they make you feel good? Do they give you energy? Maybe it's working out. Maybe it's stretching. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it is bubble baths. Maybe it's just downtime and relaxing. With the Five of Earth, though, it's giving this lack energy. So it's really like an opposite sort of energy to the Queen of Earth, which is you feel like you don't have that. It's like you're not getting enough nutrients, you're not getting enough of what it is that you need. And with the Six of Water, it could be that a part of like your self-care or what would nourish you is a sense of community and connectivity. Maybe you're around people that make you feel, not make you feel, but maybe you're around people that perpetuate this feeling of lack, like you are not being emotionally nourished. You don't have support in the way that you need it. Maybe you need financial support or resources from your community and you are not receiving them. And in that way, you're feeling lack and you're feeling like a disconnection from them. With the Nine of Earth on the bottom, that's giving like financial independence and like sovereign experience where you're able to provide for yourself. And I don't mean that in the way that Western society has essentially indoctrinated everybody to believe that they need to achieve that, which is like hustle culture of like, I'm 21 and I have the house and the car and the everything and I don't have to ask anybody for anything. And it's like, that's unrealistic. And the only way that you are ever going to achieve that is if you step on other people. Plain and simple. Like, you're either doing it knowingly or you're doing it unknowingly, but it is happening. So, all of these things that we are conditioned to believe that we can and should do as an individual by ourselves was historically done with a community, and we are still biologically wired to operate within tribe, within a community of people. So maybe you're lacking resources and feeling like that's just the void of like, I need these things and I don't have them. And I'm expected to do it myself, but I don't know how to do it myself. That's so much. The Hanged Man, the King of Cups, and the Four of Cups. Maybe you've been gaslighting yourself about this as well. Maybe you're feeling the lack and it's just kind of being pulled into a downward spiral pit of like, oh, like, this is just hard and like, I can't get out of this and like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And just feeling like this yearning for something that you're not getting. And you need to know that it's not meant to be this way. Like, you're meant to have people that support you, that provide different needs for you, that, like, you are quite literally not designed to meet for yourself. So definitely adopt more of a compassionate sort of mindset when it comes to the expectations that you have for yourself in relation to how put together your resources are. It's not your fault. You're not designed to do everything by yourself. for yourself. Yeah, like the Knight of Cups, the Two of Pentacles, and Death. So it's like your situation would be greatly transformed and altered if you had people that were willing to give to you and extend their resources or even collaborate to assist you in building up your own. And like the death is also giving a double meaning of like what I had just said, of like changing your perspective in relation to how unrealistic that actually is for you to just do everything on your own. Like, that's like a personal pet peeve of mine, is like people just gaslighting each other into this perspective like we're supposed to not rely on each other. And it's like making people feel ashamed of the fact that they're just not designed to operate within this messed up system. So like don't buy into the perspectives that there is nobody out there that will give to you and that will help you build what you want to build or receive what you need to receive. There are people that are willing to give to you. The people who are like, if it feels like pulling teeth and it feels like it's being forced and like you have to literally beg for the bare minimum of like, hey, can you help me? Like, I don't know, like it could literally be anything, but it's like, hey, can I borrow this from you, or can you help me with this? And it's like, people try to make you feel like you're like a burden, or like you shouldn't have to ask for those things. Like, they're operating from dysfunction, and you need to know that. They may not admit to that, because if you're not doing the work, then chances are you're gonna be your feathers are going to be ruffled if somebody tells you that, because you're going to take it personally. But very few, I find, are ready to admit to their own dysfunction and the ways that they perpetuate their own suffering and the suffering of others. So I'm going to extend the same thing that I extended to pile one. If you want to like talk about it in the comments or in my inbox, you just hit me up, because it really helps to have validation and confirmation about these experiences with other people, because if not, then it can just fuel that sense of separation and like you're the only one going through it and there's something wrong with me because I'm experiencing this, and I'm not going to sit by and allow that to happen. So if you feel so called to reach out, then I encourage you to do so. And we could talk about how messed up this world is and what we gonna do about it. Okay, yep. So, Seven of Pentacles on the bottom, Eight of Pentacles, the Tower, Six of Cups, and the Star. You are around the wrong people. And I'm not saying that there's bad people. I'm not saying that they're, anything like that. I'm not trying to perpetuate any sort of, like, separation, like, other perspectives where it's like, oh, those are the in-group and this is the out group, and these are the ones that are acceptable, and these ones aren't. Like, everybody is where they are. But the fact of the matter is that if you want this to work, if you want to feel completely nourished, you're going to have to find other people, because if these people are unwilling to shift their perspective and treating you this way, as though you need to be different when all you're literally asking for is the bare minimum, then you need to stop associating with these people in such a way where you are expecting them to meet this need or these needs. That's like trying to buy flowers from a butcher shop. Like, they're never going to sell them. They're not going to have them. Maybe 10 years down the line, they might decide to have both. But as of right now, it's like beating your head against a brick wall and expecting something to change when these people need to have their own catalysts for their growth and expansion in this direction. And if it's feeling like it's forced on your end, you are not that catalyst, at least not in this way. So know that there's community out there. There are people that you could collaborate with, and there are ways to get your needs met, but you have to stop trying to get that from people who are not capable of giving it to you at this time. So, what's the advice? What's any additional messages that want to come through for pile 2? Okay, so the page. It's the knave in this deck, so I'm like, is that the knight or the page? It's the Page of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Queen of Cups, with the Devil on the bottom, Hanged Man, Ace of Cups, into infinity. So with the Page of Wands, that's telling me that you need to shift your focus. Like, okay, now that you know that these people are not capable of giving what they need to give, shift your focus towards what you... It's like a blend of things. So like what you have to offer, what you want to give, and connections. If they were balanced, what would you bring to the table? What are you okay doing? What feels like it's not too much? Like, what would light you up to bring to the table? And let that feeling of like inspiration and being accepted and valued for the things that are unique to you and the things that you want to bring, let that fuel you. And with the Knight of Pentacles, it's going to be a slow process, but not because it's impossible. It's just a slow process because this thing of creating connection with other people and everything within that arena or that realm, it is a naturally slow process because we are all operating within the realm of, how do I word this? It's like we all have trust issues with other people, and we're not just gonna go out here and blindly give to people. So like, that's why it takes a long time, is that you're going to find the right people, but you need to know that it takes time to build those connections, and that just because right off the bat they're not willing to give you what it is that you need doesn't mean that they won't be able to. It's cultivating the discernment, truly, to determine if these people are actually capable and willing to give to you, or if they are stringing you along, or if you are trying to like get them to prove to you that you're not asking for too much. Like, does that make sense? Like, sometimes we stay in situations that are not going to give us what we want because we so desperately want those specific people to be the ones to fulfill that need, and when they don't, it's like we want to stay around so that way it can be them, but it's not supposed to be them. So, like, allow yourself to explore other connections and allow it to take time. It may not take as long as you think, but it's not going to be an overnight process. And the Queen of Cups, lead with your vulnerability. As difficult as it is, try not to armor up, try not to be defensive, try not to, and it's less of a try not to and more of a when it does happen, because it will, don't let that color your perception of these people. It's really just injecting compassion as deeply and as frequently as you possibly can into your experiences. If somebody is not able to give what they need to give to you and not meet your needs, then have compassion and go, okay, then that tells me that I'm going to be knocking on a closed door. So this is what you can give to me. This is what you can't give to me. So if that's not what I need, then I need to go and find people that can give this to me. And if they can, and they're just kind of slow to like ease into doing that, then allow them to go at their own pace and be honest about how you're feeling in relation to the situation as well. As difficult as that is, I know that that's a foreign thing, because we're all slowly working our way back to being open about those things. So yeah, just be patient with yourself and with the situation, and know that there's nothing wrong with you for needing what you need. There's nothing wrong with you for needing help. There's nothing wrong with needing to go seek out other people that can meet your needs more effectively, because you deserve it. Like, you deserve community. You deserve to be around people that don't make you feel like a burden. You deserve to have a healing experience, and to heal is to experience the opposite. So if you've only ever experienced having to like overgive just to get breadcrumbs, then to experience the opposite of that would be healing, which is I'm giving an appropriate amount that doesn't feel like I'm giving everything that I have, and yet it's being valued and I'm being reciprocated with. That's healing. So I want to get some closing cards, because I think that's about it. Okay, so this is a transition period, because you're probably transitioning from what I had just said of like being used to a certain kind of treatment or relational style, and you're going to have to transition to the opposite, which is being embraced for exactly how you are, exactly where you are. And it's going to be different people. I really strongly feel that it's going to be different people than the people that are around you, because if they were going to treat you in the way that you deserved, then you wouldn't be feeling this way. So with Tender Embrace, A Burst of Magic, and The Rose's Kiss, it's inviting softness into your experience and not blaming yourself for not being good enough or not being enough in whatever way. Like, not having the characteristics and behaviors that don't make you feel like a burden to other people. Like, the way that other people perceive your needs needing to be met has nothing to do with you and everything to do with what they are capable and willing to give. So seek out people who embrace you as you are, who are willing to be soft with you, and you're going to experience more of a blossoming of yourself. And it's probably going to be healing for the other people as well. But specifically just focusing on what your experience appears to be is that you just need community, and you need to be accepted for exactly where you are and who you are and how you are. So it's not rocket science. You need to seek out people who are able and willing to do that, and you'll know it when you feel it. It's going to feel strange at first, though, because you're so used to having to give so much and receive so little and, like, work super hard for, like, a little bit. But this is going to feel, like, different because you're going to be doing what feels like the bare minimum to you and receiving more than an adequate amount back. So, yeah, that's all I got. And like I said, if you want to reach out, you want to leave a comment, you want to talk, go ahead and shoot me a message, because that's one of the things that I created this channel for, is to create a sense of community and to let people know that they are not alone in what they're experiencing and that they are not bad or wrong. So yeah, I'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one.